All right, so I had a really tough start to the week on Monday. I had I was one trade away from passing my evaluation, and then I lost my first entry, and I basically misread the market and traded the opposite of my plan when I should have. If I traded with my plan, I would have passed my evaluation, but I accidentally traded against my plan, not knowing at the time. But anyway, the point is, I had a bad day on Monday, and it was very frustrating, and it was a major setback because after the first loss, then I kind of immediately fell into wanting to recoup that, even though it was only a small one single loss. I kind of like, you know how it goes. You kind of like basically revenge trade. So then I start. My second entry was technically with my plan, or at least I thought it was going with my plan, but I just had a bad read on everything yesterday, and it was a tough day. Let's just say that the video is out for you guys, but anyway, I had a tough day, and I was really frustrated about that, given the fact that that was the only red day I had in like 3 weeks, and I spent the last 3 weeks just being so disciplined with my entries and everything. And it was just like, it really got to me. I was pissed. Um, you know what I mean? It was like I kind of basically fell apart a little bit yesterday. But that's why I'm making this video right now on the topic of resilience in trading. It's like in this industry, it's very important that you definitely want to absorb and take in all of your mistakes and your losses and review them. But and you definitely want to learn from them and make sure you never make the same mistakes again. But at the same time, you kind of have to have that short-term memory, and you got to be ready to bounce back like it never even happened. Because a lot of people, they will fuck up one day, and then they are too scared to put an entry on the next day, or it basically it sets them up for more failure because they became attached to the loss or the bad performance they had, and then they kind of lose confidence in themselves when they trade, and it just sets them up for bad entries and more losses. So it's really important that you are able to bounce back, and definitely want to make sure you learn and don't forget about the mistakes you made, but you want to forget about the fact, how do I say this? But you just need to remember that one day or one week does not define your overall success in this industry. I don't know. I think this was my worst day I've had in a while. I think just because I've been doing so well and being so particular about everything the last 3 weeks, I definitely became a little bit attached to the fact that I was one trade away, and I think it made me a little bit too eager to put on positions. I mean, the fact is that I actually did kind of misread the market completely yesterday, and it fucked me up, and then I got into the bad habits that took me down even more. But whenever you to have a day like that, and then you come into, like, today was a new day, obviously, you got to be like today I had 3 losing entries before I took one winner that basically set me at a break-even day. So it was like, it's very frustrating. And it's funny because like my first entry of the day was a bit of a mistime. Like, I traded with my plan perfectly today, and I basically lost my first one. My second entry, I was up like 12 points on it, and then I didn't take any profit. And then I was waiting for my target to hit, which was a supply zone, but I didn't take anything off, and we failed at high day. And then after yesterday, which if you guys watched my last video, you know I took a trade that basically I moved my stop loss to break even, and then it ran without me and stopped me out by like 50 cents and then ripped for like, it would have been like a $3,000 trade. So today I decided I'm not going to move my stops to break even. Now, honestly, I think there is a point where you should move your stop loss to break even. Like today I was up 12 points. So I think that that's enough. But whenever we're up like even 7 to 8, like that, sometimes if you're trading in a volatile situation, then there's still a chance that you can get stopped out and your idea could not be invalidated. But anyway, today I got stopped out after having a position that was up 1,800, and I lost 600 on that trade. So it was like, that was frustrating, but I at least knew that I traded with my plan. Obviously, I wish I exited at least 2 contracts, which I usually do at like 10 to 15. I didn't do that today, and it bit me in the ass. And then on top of that, that's another losing trade. My third entry was another losing trade, which was based off a CVD divergence, but it was like a little bit premature. It was a premature entry, no doubt. And then my final entry wiped all those losses away, so that was nice. But the point is, I was definitely a little bit, like I have my live trading session right here, and I remember my first entry of the day, price came up to my planned key level, and I noticed a reaction at my planned key level. And I was, in the beginning, on my first entry and my second entry, I was pretty hesitant because of what happened yesterday. And I had my finger on the trigger, like I had the order ready to go. All I had to do was click confirm, and it would have put me in. And I was on that page, or that little mini screen, whatever you want to call it. I was on that for like a couple of seconds, and I could feel myself hesitating just because of that negative experience I had yesterday. And then I remembered to myself that I can't let yesterday affect what I do today. All I can do is make sure that I trade with my plan and my process. And if I lose, that's okay. I lose on a good trade. And yeah, so I ended up pulling the trigger, lost my first entry, and the same exact thing happened on my second entry, which was technically a winning position, but I didn't take profits properly, and that's my fault. But it definitely did affect me, and I know that that's a very common trait, especially in people that are new to this journey. I'm still kind of new. I'm like 9 months in with like a 3-month break in there. So I've only really been trading every single day, probably for like 7 months, maybe 6 months, 7 months, something like that. But the point is, those feelings, you have to recognize them, and you have to be able to realize what they are and kind of ignore them, and just make sure that you're only trading as long as you're trading your process and your plan, and you are having good trading habits. If you see an entry that looks good, or you're supposed to take based on your criteria, then you should take that regardless of what happened. For me, it was the last 4 trades or last 5 trades. Regardless of the last 5 trades you took, you need to take it. So it's really hard to see yourself lose money. I know I'm trading evaluation, but like if you are losing money, it's hard to not become fearful of your next move based on your previous losses, because it can get to you. But yeah, you just got to make sure you're trading with your plan, with your process. And if you lose, you lose, and you just have to basically accept it's kind of like the cost of doing business. Like whenever you put a position on, you should just accept the loss immediately. You should be willing to lose your risk as soon as you put a position on, because if you are, that at least can kind of tell you that your entry gave you enough confidence based on the criteria you had to enter, that if you did lose, that it would have been one of those trades that would have worked out 60, 70, 80% of the time. So, I mean, I definitely dealt with that today, and I know that a lot of people deal with that very often. So I figured I would just make a video about it, talk about it. But yeah, this is definitely one of those industries where you need to have, you need to be very mentally strong, very focused, and you got to be resilient and be able to move forward from your mistakes, learn from them, and be able to move forward without letting your mistakes affect your next move, because that is very important. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow in the next one. And yeah, peace.